All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Around the Draft. This time, we're doing another mock draft, specifically a four-round mock draft that features one of the teams on this show that is most heavily featured because of these two here, Jake and Dalton, resident Raiders fans. At this point, I feel like the temperature on that is like lukewarm in terms of your feelings about things right now. It could go either way. I feel like, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, we're doing the AFC West this week, guys. So obviously, the Chiefs is kind of shouldn't say kind of, they are the top dog in the division currently. We'll see how that plays out. Chargers, of course, as well, had a solid season. Broncos, and then, of course, the Raiders, as I mentioned a minute ago. So, but before we jump into that, I do want to kind of just the biggest news right now is obviously Frade. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk about that with you guys. We can talk about our teams a little bit. If you can't tell, I'm a Steelers fan here, if you guys haven't seen the show before. We'll talk about our teams a little bit if you guys want to, and then just general free agent signings, kind of what we think about them before we jump into that. I know it's a draft show, but you got to get some free agent news in here. So, Dalton, why don't you kick us off? It could be about the Raiders, it could be guys they didn't get, they got, didn't retain, whatever you want to do. What's kind of your biggest thing you want to talk about when it comes to free agency?
I think the biggest thing is that really going into this draft or this free agency, the Raiders had a chance to build a core, something they haven't had in years, where you keep a core of players, especially on a defense that's played pretty well when healthy.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of guys on that side of the ball up for contracts, and they just let them walk because.
Yep.
And it makes sense when you bring in a brand new regime, new GM, new assistant GM. There's nobody there that really is going to have the same value because, they would have had to maybe overpay a little bit to keep those guys, but those guys should have more value to your team than anyone else because you've seen them and we know what they are. And it's like, nope, now we're going to roll the dice on random free agents.
Right.
I don't get it. And it's like a lot of people were complaining. We're saying that people are just complaining that they didn't overspend. It's like, no, these guys got the going rate, and the Raiders just balked at it. And they were like, we don't feel like paying one of the top linebackers in the league $11 million a year, which seems silly.
Yeah, especially when so many linebackers are getting that 10 to 13 million-ish range. Yeah. I mean, just a year ago, my Steelers spent entirely too much money, in my opinion, but good money on Patrick Queen to come in and be the linebacker one for them. So that's just kind of what you have to pay if you want to have a good starting linebacker in the league. So he was definitely one I was surprised to see go. Just before I go to Jake here for a second, just to kind of let everybody know Raiders situation right now. So obviously you have the trade for the Geno Smith, which – we'll talk about that when we do our mock draft because that pick is now one of those third-round picks, which I think is their own first third-round pick is what they used.
I thought it was the Adams pick.
I'm not sure 100% on that.
It was the Jets pick.
Was it the Jets pick? Okay, so use the Jets pick there. So use that to go get Geno Smith from the Seahawks. Obviously, a huge upgraded quarterback, to say the least. But
they're now back to the exact same caliber quarterback they had 3 years ago, tier-wise, pretty much. Same relative tier. I mean, depending on the system, you could make the case that Geno in the right system might be able to outplay him, depending on what system Carr's in. But more or less, they're back to where they were 3 years ago at the quarterback position.
I generally kind of agree, although I do believe the version of Geno we've seen the last 3 years. To me, other than 2016-ish Carr, is better than any version of Carr I've ever watched play. That's just me personally, but it's still not it's not a tier gap jump. You're not making that jump from a tier gap for sure. But he is a actual starting quarterback in the NFL, which I'm sure you guys appreciate the fact that you watch a real quarterback play.
It just sucks that that's where the bar is.
Right, yeah. And then you retain Max Crosby on a huge extension. Good for him, good for you guys. That conversation can be tabled. We made a lot of jokes about them getting traded for a while. It's not going to happen. You retain Malcolm Kuntz, which is huge too. Really glad you guys were able to grab him again for just 1 year with $12 million, so good payday for him considering. Adam Butler and Isaiah Pulomau as well.
Yeah. Why are you willing to pay Malcolm Kuntz? I know it's only 1 year, but why are you willing to pay him $12 million a year and not Spillane?
And not Spillane.
That is a fair question.
That doesn't make. And I'm a big Kuntz fan. I'm glad that he's back.
Same.
And
edge rush is
I know it
obviously
is a
more
1-year
valuable,
deal, so it's less than
but
50 million,
still.
but I don't get, like, you're willing to pair someone who had a great half of the season in 2023 and then didn't play at all in 2024. You want to pay him 12 million, but not your most consistent defender for the past 2 years, besides
And
Crosby.
and when he went down, they picked up Caleb Von Chasen off the street, and the production was basically the same.
Yeah, I'm a
He's
huge Jason
suddenly
fan.
learned how to rush the passer in year 5 or 6 it
Yeah.
is for him. So which is
Sometimes
good
you
for
just
him.
need to change the scenery. You know?
I just
Sometimes you need it.
I guess
Unless
for some reason the Raiders were it.
Yeah, I don't know.
unless Kuntz takes a huge step, like he's pretty much like you could have replaced his production much easier than I think someone like Spillane or Merrick
Yeah.
or Hobbs.
Yeah, speaking of Merrick, he got a really nice deal to go to the Panthers, which is good for him. 3-year deal. I think it could go up to 60 million, but I think the base is 51 over 3 years. So that's a good contract for him, of course. You guys bring in Jeremy Chin, I guess, as his replacement.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
the same type of player, but
not
I
the
don't
same
know.
type of player, but I'm not too sad about losing Merrick or Hobbs, really.
Yeah.
Merrick, kind of because we brought in Chin. Hobbs, huge Nate Hobbs fan, but he's injured a lot. So I
Yeah,
can
he's been
understand
banged up.
that. But I think Dalton had a great point earlier. This was the first thing I was gonna say was that like I kind of just expected this because it's just another regime, you know.
Yep.
This is why the Raiders, every regime that the Raiders start every 2 years always cleans house, and
Yeah,
this is an example of it.
which is fair.
But all in all, I would have to say that I feel like I'm more optimistic than most Raiders fans because I could see the vision a little bit. I don't like some moves. I don't understand letting Spillane go. I
That's
can
the biggest
understand. I
one.
can see why Hobbs and especially Merrick, even though he's not the same player as Chin, if they knew they were bringing him in, I can see letting Merrick walk, especially for the contract he got. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't even do anything for like the first 4 hours of tampering day.
Not really. I mean, they did a lot prior to free agency kicking off, obviously, so it makes somewhat sense. But yeah, the Raiders definitely interesting to say the least. We'll see kind of how they choose to replace Spillane. I wonder if it's going to come via the draft, maybe another free agent signing. I thought I heard their name connected to Dre Greenlaw. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know he's with the Broncos now. He signed with them.
They're
Yeah,
they're not going to do anything. They always go online.
they're not going to do anything.
They do it every time. They
fair
got Spillane on a super cheap deal too.
They did because with the Steelers, he wasn't the same player that he was for you guys, so
Yeah.
you have to get him pretty cheap.
Yeah, unless they're really high on Eichenberg or they're bringing Luke Masterson back, I just don't
Right.
get it. Yeah, but like I don't know, the Merrick one. I think my frustration there is just like you hit a home run with a second round pick there, and now that draft capital is just wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be different if he wasn't a player that was worth bringing back, but he clearly was.
Yeah.
They just didn't choose to be the ones to pay him the money. So
And like if you get 3 guys in every draft to go to second contract,
you're doing great.
you're doing really well and you're
Mhm.
building something.
Yeah.
And the Raiders, at this point, they've actually drafted pretty well over the last 5 to 10 years. Like I know they get roasted for a lot of their misses in the first round, but overall they've hit on a lot of picks. They just don't keep anybody.
Especially with the salary cap being so much higher this year too. Like you would think
Salary
they
cap's
would
a
be.
myth. Yeah.
Yeah. Little bit of breaking news on the pod, I suppose. Byron Murphy returning to the Vikings on a 3-year, $66 million contract. More than I thought he was going to get. I thought it was going to be a little bit under 20. But they did need to make sure they keep the corners they already have that can play with that secondary. So another guy off the board, which just for me moving to the Steelers real quick. They did something that I couldn't have predicted for sure, is to say the least. My hat, I think, is a little bit ironic considering what I'm about to talk about.
Perfect.
Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf is now a Pittsburgh Steeler and also the brand new owner of a fat 5-year, $150 million contract that, quite frankly, I think is a bad contract to give DK Metcalf. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
He, to me, is a borderline top 30 receiver in the NFL. and you don't pay borderline top 30 players at their position that kind of money, frankly. Now it's probably bloated on the back end. It's probably not a real 150 million. That's not really what the Steelers do, but it was a weird trade for me because I think unless Pickens is about to get shipped off, I don't really get the point of this because now you have two guys who really win vertically for in different ways, admittedly, but still win vertically more than anything else, competing for targets in an offense that seems committed to not throwing the football, considering they don't even have a starting quarterback on the team still, which is a whole other conversation.
He's coming.
I don't hate it that much.
That's what I hear from most people. I am very much in the minority on this. I just don't view Metcalf as like a bona fide like number one wide receiver, and I don't think you pay guys who aren't $30 million a year, even in the salary cap that we're dealing with right now.
I agree.
So,
I think by the end of that deal, though, it's not going to look that bad compared to like how some other receivers get paid.
I think mostly the problem with him is that like I think his skill set will age very terribly.
I do agree though.
He's not old now, so he has a couple years before that's probably a concern. But again, by that point, this contract probably isn't really $150 million for 5 years. Like,
where do we rank Pickens and Metcalf in terms of like wide receiver duos in the NFL? I was thinking about that today, because they are very similar receivers in a lot of ways.
I don't even know. My brain just fried thinking about those two playing on the field together. Still, it's like, what's the over/under on like personal fouls between the two of them this year? I don't want to know.
Just wait until Aaron Rodgers can't throw a deep ball in Week 14, and then.
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers thing that appears to be who is probably going to be the quarterback of this team in 2025. Which, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL from a like wanting to watch them play standpoint that I'd rather watch than him. And most of them are still worse than him, but I would still rather watch them play than him. So I'm kind of going through a little bit right now because the only other notable free agent signing, and that's being generous, is a guy who we haven't actually signed yet because he hasn't been released yet officially. That's Darius Slay, who's 34 goddamn years old at corner. Now he's still good, or at least he was last year. Will he be good again? I don't know. But that's the only other notable one. Also, Malik Harrison, for some reason, who I only know because I am a fan of the Steelers, therefore I know the Ravens well, therefore I know their linebackers that don't even play that much. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably know who that is. So that's where I'm at right now when it comes to free agents.
Is Landon Roberts?
Oh, he's gone for sure. If they're signing a 260-pound middle linebacker to play run defense.
Well, that was the most depressing thing. I didn't even care about who it was. When I saw that, I was like, "This must mean that the Landon."
Yeah, for $5 million a year, he's probably not getting re-signed too.
I would like Landon Roberts.
Yeah, honestly, go sign Landon Roberts. You're gonna get like all of the run defense stuff that Splain gives you, but none of the coverage instincts. I'll say that much. 0% of those, but he'll hit people.
Yeah. Well, we don't have any linebackers, so I will take it.
Right.
Yeah, Diablo is still just out there.
Diablo's a safety playing linebacker. Is that not kind of the case?
Diablo is guaranteed to give you 3 like really good games every year, and then a whole lot of average linebacker play.
That's kind of what playing linebacker is though nowadays. Like. So I don't know if that's necessarily bad, but no. Any thoughts on some of the other like major deals? Like I have thoughts on the Seahawks in general.
I don't understand the Commanders and Texans trade for.
I don't either.
It doesn't really make sense to me for either side.
Oh, it makes total sense for me for the Commanders because Laramie Tunsil has been one of the 3 best pass blockers in the sport for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
And they have a rookie quarterback who just took you the NFC title game without good pass protection for most of the year. I think it's fair to pay up for that if you can. Now, if you're the Texans, did you think C.J. Stroud had it too easy last year or something? Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could draft a tackle, hopefully, or you can sign still some of the free agent offensive linemen. There's a couple out there that would at least be better than whoever's going to be playing right this minute. But, like, you're going to trade one of the best blindside protectors in the sport right after your quarterback got absolutely beat to shit for 17 games in a row last year. I don't know if I want to do that.
That's funny because they traded for him because they had a young QB.
Yeah, exactly.
They wanted to protect, and now
I wonder what happened to that guy. I don't know. I wonder what happened to that guy. Yeah, that still doesn't make sense to me either. But A lot of fat contracts being given out, which that's what free agency is all about, especially with the salary cap the way it is. But yeah, for the most part, go ahead.
Speaking of things that don't make sense,
Oh boy,
why are the Rams shopping Cooper Kupp to sign Devontae Adams? Explain that one to me.
My guess is that Sean McVay and Cooper Kupp had some sort of like altercation that we're gonna hear about like 6 years from now.
That honestly is the best explanation.
Here's the thing: I think Devontae Adams can still play a lot. Like he's still a really good player, and he was a good signing for them. But it does also make you wonder, like, why do you have to get rid of Cooper Kupp? Like, is there a reason beyond like you don't want to pay him the amount of money he's owed? And it's like I would just keep him if you can do it, like for at least next year, because you're clearly trying to win.
Yeah,
you might as well just keep him if it works.
Yeah, they're at the point where it feels like they're about to like cut him.
They are going to cut him on Wednesday if no trade happens.
I don't understand. I don't get that.
Yeah, weird.
I mean, again, Adams move, big fan of that. But if you can afford Kupp, if you don't have to, like, if you don't physically have to cut him in order to fill the roster, why bother doing it? Like, what's the point of this? I don't know. Feels weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird.
But whatever. The Rams they're doing stuff. Poona Ford loved that for them, by the way. I'm sure you guys love him not having to clog the Chargers' freaking run lanes anymore after last year. So that was fun. But no, we'll jump into the mock draft here in a second, guys. But
one last thing on the Adams thing. Sorry, just the ultimate karma, though. I never like rooting for injuries, but Matt Stafford getting hurt and Jimmy Garoppolo being his quarterback is the funniest thing that would
be really funny. Yeah, and it's also very much possible, as we all know.
Now that Netflix has aired out all the dirty laundry there.
He's not going to jump for a single pass over the middle.
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't.
I would honestly maybe sit out the games that Garoppolo has to play. Like, just say that your ankle hurts or something. I don't know. Like, I feel concussion symptoms coming on. It's wild. I do remember hearing. I'm like, what the hell is going on? No, we're gonna get into the AFC West mock draft. We'll talk about some of the other signings as we go that matter to the draft, of course, because Chiefs made some moves. One of them in particular, I'll be honest with you, it was one of the few times I saw a player get paid that amount of money that I had never heard of in my whole life, and I should have heard of him, but I just wasn't paying attention to the Niners as much this year, so I didn't know he played that much. That would be the tackle, Jalen Moore, I want to say his name is. 2 years, $30 million to be the left tackle for the Chiefs, I think is what it was. That was interesting to me.
Yeah, I feel like I was a bit of a casual when I saw that.
Yeah, I was like, why don't I know who you are? I feel like I should know this. And yeah, so I don't know what happened there. Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. Good for him, whoever that is. No. Apparently he stepped in for Trent Williams last year and played really well for like a month and a half. And I'm like, is that all it takes now to get $30 million? Maybe that's all it takes.
Yeah, look at some of the offensive lines in the league.
It's fair. It's fair. I guess I can't. Hey, listen, Dan Moore, $80 million man.
That's insane.
Congrats to him, man.
Insane.
Imagine what's up, Dalton?
Who?
Dan Moore Jr., the left tackle for the Steelers the past 4 years.
This is a perfect representation of why.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Dalton's like, who are you talking about? Like, you mean my left tackle for the past 4 seasons? No, he managed to turn refusing to play right tackle into an $80 million job, which I think is incredible. Because you draft the first-round left tackle, and then Dan Moore's like, hey, listen, I can't play right tackle. I'm literally not able to do it. And they're like, oh, shit, well, we can't bench you, of course. You were only a fourth-round pick, so we're going to put our first-round left tackle on the right side and let that work out, and then draft another tackle, and then still play you because the other tackle got hurt. Anyway, good for him, I guess. It's not on my team anymore.
I saw something like a week ago that he was going to get close to like $20 million a year, and I was like, "There's no fucking."
Yeah, and then he did it. And I'm like, you know what? All right, good for him.
Contracts have been wild. Titans
are the one who did it too, which is good for J.C. Latham because I think he should be the right tackle anyway, but probably not good for whoever's going to be the quarterback of the Titans next year.
Bad teams are spending big this year.
I mean, admittedly,
Like-
the Patriots had like a bajillion dollars actually. Like they had
And they threw it all at everybody.
and I'll tell you what, some of those deals are kind of fine, I think, and the other ones, who cares? Like when you have like the equivalent of cap space of like what the cap was 10 years ago, entirely, like the whole cap was 10 years ago, I think you could just spend whatever you want. You can give anyone any amount of money, and I'm like, all right, what am I supposed to say about it?
I think apparently they offered Godwin like 10 million more than like what he ended up taking to stay. But like Godwin already got a big deal. Like the fact that they offered that much more is insane.
It is funny that they're like, what if we just give you 1.5 times the contract they're offering you? And he's like,
Nah.
y'all are ass. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I told him that. No, but anyway, let's jump into the mock draft here, guys. So again, we're going to do 4 rounds today, mostly because I think we're at a point where we can do that pretty comfortably and not be like, well, I don't know who this guy is yet, or I haven't watched anything about this. Now, we do have some positions left to go through. Edge and linebacker coming up this next week. We're going to do our top 10 edges and top 5 linebackers next week. So still some positions we haven't fully watched, at least I haven't fully watched, but for the most part, kind of get the idea of this class. So, but unless you guys have any other thoughts you want to throw out there, we can get that started here.
Let's do it.
All right. And this time you get to pick for the Raiders to some degree. And I'm definitely going to relent if you guys have a different opinion than me, because, of course, at least for the Raiders. Maybe the PFF mock draft simulator won't kill you since they can't do it physically. Now, what they are going to do instead, though, is they're going to take every player you want to pick before, and then you're going to be like, can we redo it? No. let's see what we get.
Joke's on you, Shayne. The Raiders have too many needs.
That's a good point. You know what? I didn't think about that. We're taking a linebacker at 6. No. All right. So I'm going to take a guess, though, real quick, because I don't know about you guys, because the Raiders are up first, obviously, here in this. I feel like everything they've done up to this point screams that Ashton Genty is going to be a Raider.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's necessarily because this is what we will want to do. Like, this isn't us guessing what this is going to be. So it doesn't mean you guys have to do that, but I think that's where it's trending. And I have a weird feeling that he's going to get taken somewhere before pick 6 just to remove that possibility from you guys. So if that happens, I'm sorry that I spoke into existence.
I would be happy with that, and because that would force the Raiders to.
I guess that's true.
I mean, if he gets taken in the top 5, somebody good is falling to 6.
You have a good point there, so I guess it probably doesn't matter too much. Anyway, let's start this off here.
Yeah, I agree.
And he went at 4, so there we go.
4 is insane for Genty.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
Mason Graham is 3rd pick. That's good.
the really funny thing about this
No
is
QB.
no QBs.
I know. What am I supposed to do with this information, guys?
Just take Cam
Hold on.
Ward.
My vote would be Shador here.
You know,
Sure,
you
I'm
know what
not-
my vote is? Let's do this because I'm gonna be real with you. That's the dumbest thing I've seen in a while on this mock draft simulator.
I'm
I
not
like
saying
Genty going before either of the quarterbacks.
Not only did he go before any of them, none of them were taken at all before the pick 6.
there's 3 QB needy teams picking 1, 2, and 3.
And they said no. You know
No.
what's better? Ted McMillan.
Mason
okay.
Graham went what?
Jahad Campbell is the 5th pick in the draft in this situation. So
Wow.
I love that. So this time Cam Ward does go number 1, which Okay, cool. So now this one it feels a little better despite what just happened at 5. Which honestly, this is the Jaguars and different Jaguars front office, obviously, but it's still the Jaguars. So maybe I can excuse that one a little bit. A lot of good players on the board, obviously. Ashton Genty is, of course, here. Other guys are on the board. I'm going to default to you guys first, obviously. What are you thinking here at pick 6?
My inclination here is still, I know they just traded for Geno, but I think they pull in Atlanta here, and this move is gonna be called pulling in Atlanta forever.
This move is going to start happening, isn't it? And it's going to be called that.
And I think you draft Shador, and you just figure it out because Geno is not your quarterback of the future. Like, he's 3 years max. Like, let's be honest. And you also don't know it's going to work with Geno because he's 34. And I think you bring in Shador to, and if the worst case scenario, you blew 40 million in a third round pick on Geno, but you still got your guy. Who cares? No one's going to remember the Geno contract if Shador goes on to be a 10-year starter. That's my thoughts. I'm open to other suggestions, though.
What do you
I would
think,
do the
Jake?
same thing.
Would you?
This is actually what I would prefer to happen. But I don't think it's as bad as the Falcons. Like I don't think this would get as much criticism as the Falcons, just because they on surface the Falcons. I know they didn't really, but they gave him like a 4-year, 100 million guaranteed. I think that's a little bit more. If the Raiders had done that with Geno, I probably wouldn't take a QB here. But I know there's talk about them wanting to give him another year or two after. But as of now, he only has 1 year on the deal. So I think if you have a chance to get Sanders here, you take him.
Well, so I've already been outvoted anyway, which I was going to go with what you guys wanted to do regardless. However, I will say I'm running the card in for Ashton Jetty solely for entertainment purposes. That's really what it comes down to, because I don't have a dog in this fight, but I would sure watch the Raiders, and I don't really care what the score is, but I'm going to watch what they're doing because it'd be very fun. No, I understand. I just at this point, like, and I'm this way with both quarterbacks, but especially with Sanders, just because I do think the upside is limited. I wouldn't take any of them in the top 10 if I was a team personally. However, that's not how it works, right? Just is not how that works in the NFL. So if you like a guy enough, you can take him anywhere in the draft, especially a quarterback. But Sanders will be the pick here since that's what you guys voted for ultimately. Boom. Now, up next, we have the Broncos. Let's take a look at this board here real quick. So, Armand member to the Jets. Tyler Warner of the Panthers. Haven't seen that one before. Good thing they paid Tommy Tremble money, didn't they? And also drafted a tight end last year.
But neither of them are Tyler Warner.
That is true. I will give you that. This is
neither one of them can snap the ball to himself and throw the ball to himself.
That is a good point. I didn't think about that. Chicago, Ashton Dente, which is also, I think, the second spot I would be pointing at to where he could go. Considering the Bears, like, hey, how many offensive linemen can we trade/sign and then build, like, honestly, what I think should be a good offensive line, but, like, a very weirdly expensive and also short-term one. I don't really know how that works, but I appreciate the effort they're putting in. Shamar Stewart makes sense there at 11. Ted McMillan, that'd be a receiver room and a half. Nicky Manwari, Michael Williams, Jay Barron. Okay, so mostly kind of normal, I would say. Now Malachi Starks at 19. Not that he doesn't deserve to go there, but I feel like they kind of need other needs. But that still makes some sense. But we got the Broncos up at 20. So I did hear that they were sniffing around Evan Ingram to potentially be that kind of chess piece, tight end, joker role that Sean Payton keeps talking about. But that would be very short term, obviously, I'm sure. So I'm kind of my immediate thought now looking at the board, there's plenty of good players here, but I kind of like the cornerbacks they have, but Will Johnson's sitting there at 20.
Yeah, that's a really good player to be sitting that far down. Which I wouldn't hate that pick. I mean, I can't believe that he would actually fall that far.
It's very possible, apparently, according to people, but I don't know about that either. Colson Loveland's going to be a popular name here, of course, too. They do need receiver help too, not just tight end help, obviously. So, what are you guys thinking here?
I think it has to be an offensive weapon.
I agree. I tend to agree.
If Bo Nix is going to be your guy, I think you have to put as many weapons on the field as possible that he can just get the ball to and hope they can make plays after the catch.
Yeah.
Which is why I've been mocking, doing like AFC West mocks. I've been mocking Emeka Egbuka a lot. Mm-hmm. I think that would make a lot of sense. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I like Egbuka. I like Luther Burden here. Will Johnson is tempting, though, just because I would not have thought he'd still be on the board at 20. But my first thought here was a receiver. So I think that's probably where I would lean, but I could also just get behind Will Johnson too, just because he's still on the board. But
Right. I think Johnson is the best value here for sure. But I will say, like, if I'm now, this is me specifically. I know you guys would differ on this. If I'm taking receiver, it'd be Golden because he's my receiver one. But Loveland is a popular name here. I like that fit for them too. But Egbuka would be a very quality target that you know what you're getting at least with Knicks, like because he needs that type of, I think, safety blanket type of player, which Loveland could theoretically be too. But Egbuka is just such a solid player that I think you can't really, like, as much as you can say this in the draft. I think it'd be very hard not to hit on that pick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So my vote's going to be for Egbuka ultimately here, I think.
yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. And then does Steelers take Tyler Booker? I mean, good thing they run. Good thing they run an offense that requires athleticism from their guards, and Tyler Booker was like a 4-point-something RAS player. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that.
He's good.
He's very good. Not
You
really
make it
probably a
work.
scheme fit.
Plus,
Anyway,
you're gonna draft Aaron Rodgers, and you're gonna throw the ball 40 times.
I'm gonna draft him if I could draft Aaron Rodgers back in 2004.
You're gonna sign Aaron Rodgers, and you're gonna start throwing the. You're gonna become a pass-first offense.
An Arthur Smith pass first offense might actually kill me. It might actually be what does me in after all these years. So
an Arthur Smith pass first offense would just be Justin Fields at running back, and you just pitch the ball to him, and then
that would be fine.
He throws it randomly.
I would. Listen, I know that some people, and I tend to sort of agree that Fields got paid a little too much by the Jets. I would pay Justin Fields $40 million a year to be quarterback for my team if I didn't have to watch Aaron Rodgers play for the Steelers. So. That's my hot take on that situation. Anyway, this isn't about me or the Steelers right now. It's about the Chargers, who did just pick up Najee Harris, by the way, for 1 year and $9.5 million.
Oh, wow. That's a great signing for them.
I think so, with the type of offense they're trying to run. Absolutely.
Yeah. J.K. Dobbins, I'm sorry, just is never going to be healthy.
Yeah, he was good for a minute there, and then it was all downhill.
And he got hurt again.
That's what happens, unfortunately. No, so the Chargers did address some serious needs, but also kind of didn't. They have a lot of money, but the biggest contract they signed, at least on a per-year basis, was Najee, as far as true free agents go. They bring Khalil Mack back, which is good. They also signed another former Steeler, Dante Jackson, which I wouldn't have done if I was them. Kind of not good anymore, but hey, depth, I suppose. I still think, realistically, wide receiver, tight end still need that a lot because they didn't attack that in free agency so far. And the edge position with Joey Bosa now not on the team is also kind of open, although they do have Tuli, I think it's Tuli Pelotu, I forget how to say his last name. And they did bring Mac back, but it's only for a year. I think edge or offensive weapon is kind of what I'm thinking here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce sitting here at edge, is interesting. But,
sure.
I mean, to me, Colston Loveland just makes too much sense here. That feels like the Chargers pick here.
I think it feels like it for sure, for obvious reasons, right? The Michigan connection, need at the position.
Greg Roman offense thrives on tight end play.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jake?
Will Johnson's still on the board.
He is on the board.
I know.
He do be on the board, unfortunately.
He is a Michigan guy, but
he is a Michigan guy.
My first thought here was Luther Burden, but I feel like I can be talked into Loveland also because he does feel like a Charger.
He does. I think specifically, and Dalton made a good point of
also
this
James
because
Pierce.
of he's obviously a value at this point too on the field. At least we'll see what we find out about whatever it is people say about him off the field, but whatever. I do think Loveland makes the most sense schematically just because of who the offensive coordinator is, where he's going to be better equipped to use him well opposed to a receiver at this point. Now, you could argue Lad McConkey did just fine as a rookie as a receiver, so maybe that isn't a big deal.
But Burden, I think, would be a similar fit to McConkey.
He'd be used in similar ways, just not as the same as a route runner type, but more of the gadgety stuff that they would need to do there. So, Yeah, I'm going to keep saying it just because he's my top receiver. But if I'm taking a pure receiver here, it's going to be Matthew Golden at this point for me. But that's just my opinion. But Loveland would be my pick at this point.
Yeah. Same.
Or Will Johnson, just because he's still on the board. What do you think, Jake?
I would probably go Loveland.
Go Loveland, okay.
But it hurts.
I know. I'm curious where he's going to end up getting taken because next pick we have control over is until 31 with the Chiefs. So, where'd he go? He went to the Rams. That'd be fun.
The Rams might low-key be really good next year.
They very well could and should be.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden goes to the Packers. This is not good because the Packers don't draft receivers in the first round. Kenneth Grant to the Vikings makes a lot of sense. Kelvin Banks Jr., which, hey, this pick makes a ton of sense all of a sudden because Laramie Tunsil. Either way, it would have made sense, but especially now.
Burn to the Lions.
Yeah, Burn to the Lions. Ooh, that's fun.
That's a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun. Josh Simmons to not replace Ronnie Stanley immediately, at least, because the Ravens were able to retain him. James Pierce goes to the Washington. After what they've done, good for them. And Derek Harmon joins the Bills. Love that pick for them. Now we're up with the Chiefs. Now, we're not going to do anything bad to the Chiefs, guys. I know they've done bad stuff to you and done other people, but we're not going to do anything dumb with the Chiefs here. So they did sign real quick here to just throw this out there. They did sign somebody who seems, based on the money, going to be the left tackle for them next year, and Jalen Moore from the Niners, which, again, I did not know that person existed. I'll be honest with you. Maybe that's my fault. I wasn't paying enough attention to the Niners once they weren't that good, but apparently he played pretty well for them in place of Trent Williams. So tackle could still be neat. It's only a 2-year deal, but just throwing that out there. Probably not going to be a day one starter if you take a tackle. Excuse me here. So let's take a look kind of at what's still on the board here. Walter Nolan, Darius Alexander both make some sense because they did lose Wharton, I think it was, to the Panthers, right? Ultrasound Wharton. So that could make some sense. Looking at this, I mean, you could always use more offensive firepower. Marion Hampton makes sense there. Edge is still something that I think that they're just – I like the collection of them, but I don't think any of them are certainly standouts, so you could look there. Or you could take a potential – if you don't think Jalen Moore, whoever that is, good for him again, you could look at a tackle or something like that. But
I think offensive line is still very much in play, considering that's the reason why they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, very much the case. Now, Gray Zabel's on the board if you want to move him inside. That's an option as well, for sure. That's kind of where he's being projected in the NFL for obvious reasons. But he's on the board if you want to kind of try to strengthen the interior of the offensive line after you got rid of Joe Thuney. I think their plan right now is to play Suamatai at guard maybe instead of tackle, which maybe that helps him play better, but obviously a second developmental player, you maybe aren't going to be able to guarantee he's going to be good.
I got Jawan Taylor, but
but he's the false start merchant.
Not a great offense. It's just a bad offensive line. Outside of left tackle and center, it's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's about it.
But they got a lot of needs.
What do you think, Jake?
I kind of like Zabel.
Yeah. It does make some sense because he's probably a guy that you could move to any of the interior positions, and he'll have at least the athleticism and the profile to play it. Obviously, he has to make that transition. He's a North Dakota State player, which that has gone very well in recent history doing that, so I can't say it's that much of a risk just for that reason. But that's kind of where I'm looking to now. I would love to pair like a Walter Nolan with Chris Jones in the interior too, potentially.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, but not necessarily the biggest name.
Is Jalen Walker still on the board?
No, I think he went at 17 to the Bengals at 17, yeah. That would have been fun too.
Yeah, because I know he had been dropping on a lot of these mocks.
Yeah, I think he's gone up a little bit more recently, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Gordon could be interesting in that defense.
For sure, as an edge, yeah.
I'm like thinking about it, like more like the Chiefs roster really isn't that great.
there are certainly parts of it that you're like, man, it's not as good as I would think it is.
For a team that just won 3 straight Super Bowls.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons that happen. Not all of them is because they have this super stacked roster, admittedly.
No.
So I think my vote at this point would be Zabel, just for the flexibility of getting a guy that might be able to play in multiple spots for you on the interior. And I like the athleticism for him, so I think he'll be able to make that transition. But I'm open to other suggestions for sure.
I think Zabel would be mine also.
If you guys are higher on him, I can get on board with that. I'm
a little higher on him than I think
I'm
you were.
a lot lower on him, but
Well, we've been burned by enough North Dakota State offensive linemen that they're going to be better than we think typically. Don't want to helmet scout, but I did like a lot what I saw from him here, so we'll do Zabel here. And then Jaden Higgins to the Eagles at 32 is fun, I guess.
why?
I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, these other picks, I can get behind Josh Connerly being Dan Moore's replacement next year when they have to cut him from the $82 million contract they signed him to. Anyway, Tyleik Williams, the Jaguars, is good for sure. But the Raiders back up here at 37, guys. So you could address running back now since you didn't force me to, or you didn't let me do it. Pick 6. Could do that. You could add some more offensive firepower. You could add. I don't know if you guys feel good enough about any linebackers at this point, but that's an option for you since you lost Lane. What are you thinking here, guys?
Give me Omari and Hampton.
Yeah, I think I'm probably running that card in. I like Ignore a lot, but man, getting Hampton here, Hampton falling here, yeah,
hard not to do that. Let's do it. 52 here. Let's just see anything crazy dumb. Jackson Dart, the Jets,
Actually makes a lot of sense though. If you're gonna build an offense around Justin Fields, having Jackson Dart to compete makes a lot of sense actually.
I'd probably take Jalen Milroe. At least he could play running back if he's bad. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, if Milroe's still available. I don't get why Dart's going ahead of Milroe.
I don't know, because I don't know. It beats me.
I guess the floor is slightly higher.
I don't even know if that's necessarily true.
I don't know. Yeah, no. Unless you're planning on running like a pure West Coast system.
Maybe. I mean, it's like.
But even then, I'd still rather Milroe, probably.
Probably, just for the upside of it. Broncos. Takemeka Ibuka. We like that. I still think they need help at linebacker. They did get Greenlaw, though, right?
Yeah.
So maybe not as much, at least now, but I don't remember how long. Let me see if they have the details here. Let me see. So it was 3 years, $35 million. So he's not going anywhere right now. Also, Talanoa Hufanga got 3 years, $45 million from the Broncos. Okay. He doesn't play a lot of games. I don't know about that one. Anyway, so they addressed safety, they addressed linebacker, kept DJ Jones in the interior, which is, I think, good for them. They re-signed Jarrett Stidham to be the backup, which is whatever. Good for him. Don't worry about your job, though, next. And so I feel like at this point, they could they be a running back team? Like a Caleb Johnson, maybe, or a
Javonte Williams did sign elsewhere.
What's up?
So I know Javonte Williams signed
with the Cowboys. The boys.
They don't have a running back.
They currently do not have a starting one. Now, some people will tell you that we're erasing Audric Estime, but he's not stopping me from taking a good running back.
No. For me, I would really like Travion Henderson.
Some people say that.
Yeah, him or Caleb Johnson, I would say.
Yeah.
I think if I'm the Broncos, I'm probably taking Caleb Johnson because I think is McLaughlin still around to do passing game stuff for them?
I think so, yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to take the Travion Henderson because he's obviously much more explosive, but he would be a guy that isn't. really supposed to be a bell cow. Ultimately, I don't really think you should be like the lead runner in a backfield if you can avoid it. Now, if he's just the best player, you could give him workload, but I think he'll be more effective as like a part of a two-man team there, at least for nothing else. So I'd probably lean Caleb Johnson here.
Yeah, I like that.
So, boom. I will say this pick doesn't exist to me anymore because this is DK Metcalf, guys. This is not Travion Henderson. Just pretend that it is. So I will say I just realized we are going to have to basically ignore some of the picks in this potentially, at least the second Raiders third-round pick because it hasn't been updated yet. So just remember that when we get to that point.
Do we just trade it to the Seahawks?
We could do that.
We could actually do that, yeah.
Can do that. Weirdly enough, despite the fact that this, for some reason, takes 12 running backs to each team, we are also able to trade at the same time.
I can't wait for us to do it, and then PFF say no.
I can force the trade. Don't you worry. I can force it. I can make them do it. Anyway, no. So we're up with the Chargers at pick 54. Colston Loveland, first-round pick, of course. Now, they did sign Najee, but running back is still neat because it's only a one-year contract, so I wouldn't hate that potentially. But you did just see two go off the board in a row here. So that might not be the best fit. I like right off the bat, because we didn't go receiver.
Yeah.
Io Manor makes a lot of sense for what they don't have.
Be a good compliment.
That was my first thought when I saw the board.
Yes. Now you could go, with a defensive lineman type guy. You could go with an edge as well because they did lose Joey Bosa, so that makes sense too. If you like, a guy like, I know they have some corners, but if you like a guy like Darren Porter enough, which I'm not really sure yet with him, maybe that makes sense. But I think Io Manor is the best player on the board right now.
I mean, this a tough, gritty receiver out of Stanford.
Yeah,
that is Harbaugh written all over it.
Quite literally, yeah. So we could throw that. Good Chargers here.
Those are two very Harbaugh picks.
They are. Yes. They really are, and that's what you kind of want to do.
But I mean, his fingerprints were all over their draft last year.
That's true. So let me. Okay. So we have the Chiefs up here. Let's see what kind of happened recently. So a couple edges come off the board. Jack Sawyer. These two go next to each other, which I think is funny. Alfred Collins, Dalton to the Lions. Oh boy.
Ooh,
Lions having a draft so far. I would say. Just a little bit. Xavier Strepo, the only type of receiver they don't have currently now, I would say. So there's that. And then Darren Porter to the Bills. Another athletic corner they're going to take a chance on. At least it won't be in the first round like Kyer Elam was. So the Chiefs here back up. So we took Gray Zabel to fortify the interior of the offensive line. There is a fun pick I'm staring at on the board that I know Jake wants to make probably. Or maybe he doesn't because he just want to see this guy play for
I can't put this out into the universe. I can't.
Yeah.
The fact that his average draft position is 62 is kind of crazy to me.
Has he run a 40 yet?
No.
I think he did. I thought he did.
Wait, did Arizona State have their pro day yet?
I thought maybe I'm stupid. I thought
he didn't run at the combine, so he jumped at the combine and really well actually, which was cool. But he didn't, unless Arizona State had their pro day, he does not run a 40 yet.
I might just be stupid.
Hey, you don't have to say that. Jake, real time figuring it out.
Yeah, until he runs a 40, I refuse.
He had a 39.50 vertical jump and a 10.3 broad jump. Yeah. But he didn't run 40.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that man, if he ever does run one, it's going to be 4 6s.
Probably. But again, is that going to be surprising to anybody, even the people who like him? Probably not.
Yeah, but you can't be like more than like a 10 carry a game guy at a 4.6. You're a fullback at that point.
I don't know. Did pretty well.
He almost feels like to me like a player where if the Cowboys are to miss out on Genty or something, then they look at him later. I could see Jerry Jones liking Cam Scatterbo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to explain that, but I could see him just looking at him and being like, he plays football.
Give that man 20 carries a game and 5 catches.
Tell you what, though, I'm seeing a pick I really like for the Chiefs. Actually, a
Is
couple.
that Ariante Ursery?
I mean, I was thinking that, but I know we took Zabel already. But no, I know secondary is not a need for them, but Ben Morrison, I think, would probably play a lot right away in that secondary.
Yeah, because I
don't
did
think
hear
it's
that
more
his medicals turned out okay with the combine, so I guess
Yeah.
he's going to be good to go. So that does make him more draftable in the first 2 days of the draft for sure than he would have been had that not happened. I like that. I also like the idea of Elijah Arroyo potentially coming in with Kelsey likely gone after next year. Different types of players, but a vertical element in the tight end spot makes some sense.
just feels high for him.
I feel like he's going to go in this range. Doesn't mean we necessarily think he should. I didn't get a chance to do a full eval on him during the tight end episode, so I haven't gone back and done that. But
He's
people
not
love
a
him.
tight end. I don't know what he is.
I mean, he's what was he listed? Like, what did he come in at the combine? Like 250 plus, I think.
Or no, he was a receiver he was a tight end that was just playing wide receiver for them, right?
Let me
I
see.
forget.
He played about an even split between inline and slot snaps.
Okay.
So I don't know.
My notes on him were funny. I remember he was a weird one.
I know the one that I think of with that is Rondé Gadsden. So
I think I'm getting him mixed up with the
Okay.
Syracuse guy. Yep.
Yeah, so that might be what you were thinking. Yeah, but Arroyo, I think, is going to go relatively high. Look pretty dominant at the Senior Bowl. I think he's going to run really well. If he's able to run in his at the pro day. I don't know if he's able to. I know he had some sort of doesn't at the combine. That's why he doesn't have testing numbers, but he makes some sense for sure. They do need to figure that out at some
Is
point.
Helm off the board?
What's up, Gunnar Helm? He is not because he's down at 113.
Wow. Why?
So I don't know. I mean, T-Ferg. I love Terrence Ferguson. No, not this early. Mason Taylor is going to probably go somewhere in this range if I had to guess based on what I'm hearing. Not really my cup of tea, but it's what it is. Were you guys like? It's kind of all over the place for the Chiefs because they do have more things to think about than I think most people realize, honestly. So, what are we thinking here?
Not since if we're not doubling up on offensive line, my pick would probably be Morrison here.
Okay. What do you think, Jake?
I like Morrison. This whole time you guys have been talking, I've been silently talking myself into Arroyo a little bit. But I also would not be mad with Morrison at all.
It is good value. The secondary for them is not necessarily a need with McDuffie and stuff back there, but you know they've kind of been streaming other outside corners. I feel like last year or so without Snead now there, so that still makes some sense. Yeah, I'll default to Morrison. I think that makes a lot of sense there. All right, so we're back up with the what did happen with this? I don't remember the Chiefs having pick 66.
Snead?
Oh, that's a Snead trade. Never mind. I forgot about that. Yeah. So
I
they're
was
right back
thinking
up.
the only thing that the Chiefs could have to do with the Titans.
They have both Iowa State receivers on their roster now. For whatever that's worth, I guess goodbye AJ Brown or what's I don't know what PFF's thought process.
PFF drafts first and thinks about the current players later.
Honestly, fair enough. Ariante Ursery goes to the Giants to presumably play right tackle, I guess, in this situation. Except for when Andrew Thomas misses the 7 games he misses a year, then he can play left tackle. So we're right back into the same situation, kind of. Now, could we go with an Elijah Arroyo? Could we go with maybe, depending on how we feel about the remaining running backs, they do need, I think, an upgrade there. Pacheco's really fun to watch run until he doesn't really do anything for some reason, which was most of last year. So what do you guys think in kind of this pick?
I think tight end makes a lot of sense here.
We don't have to go Arroyo. We could go with one of these other guys. Yeah.
My pick would be Helm just because I think you could use him. Like, he doesn't have to just be a pure, like, heir apparent to Kelsey because he can do some things that Kelsey doesn't really do anymore, or really never did. But I think he'd be my top one. And then probably, like, a Taylor or a Harold Fannin, even too, I think could be in the mix.
Doesn't Harold Fannin feel like a guy that would play on the Chiefs because, like, he would just do what he does in college, but for them, and it would just work because Patrick Mahomes is his quarterback.
He would be kind of like a dollar store Travis Kelce.
Kind of the way, because he wins with not so much speed, especially the version of Travis Kelce they've got in the past couple of years. Not necessarily the fastest or explosive athlete, but great after the catch because he breaks tackles. He's really savvy with his route running. His ability to separate late. Like that is kind of late career Travis Kelce.
All school tight end.
Yeah. Hey, we're thinking now, Jake.
Generally the same part of the country.
Generally the same part.
Generally the same part of the country.
I mean, Indiana, Ohio, same
Yeah.
thing.
Those are the same states. You can't tell me they're not, right?
That part of Indiana, Ohio, like where Bowling Green is, like that Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, that's just its own little state.
If you told me right now that, like, if I went to Indiana and you were like, this is Ohio, I'd be like, sure, I believe it. I don't know. So why not? No, actually, I do kind of like that. I do think, like, just based on a like how he tested and what he actually is, it might be a little early. But the Chiefs would make it work is the thing, right?
I like both home and Phantom, but I was gonna say that I think you might be able to trade down for those.
Right, potentially. Yeah, but they do have another pick in the third round, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if we can go down far enough. Oh, they do not.
No, they do.
Oh no, they did. I just missed it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So maybe they target
Kind of a long way
down there. It is a bit of a. I think one of those guys we talked about would be there.
Yeah, it's a deep tight end class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
terms of
maybe you can go
level.
somewhere else here. Let's take a look at what else is still on the board here.
Yeah, I mean, defense, I still think they need help.
Yeah, Josiah Stewart would be fun. He's a very different type of edge rusher than what they have. Kind of that sawed-off, explosive guy, opposed to the bigger-bodied like Karlaftis of the world. So that would make some sense.
Lots interesting.
Yeah, you could play. He wouldn't have to play too many snaps like he doesn't ever in actual college football. He'd be more of a rotational player.
Stay on his 20% snap rotation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but still would somehow have like 10 sacks a year playing with Spagnuolo.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we talked about maybe not doubling up on offensive line, but I do like the idea of having a replacement for Jawan Taylor and one of Cam Williams or Ozzie Trapillo.
I love the idea of going Cam Williams here.
Yeah, because he could end up playing inside, or he could end up sticking the right tackle for them.
And he'd still probably, like, regardless, he'd probably start right away on that team.
Yeah. I mean, I would prefer Trapillo to him in terms of, like, playability now. But Williams does have more upside than him, so it's like you kind of pick your poison there.
And when you're a team like the Chiefs, like you can afford to like wait on guys a little bit. Like they don't have to play right away.
That's a good point. What do you think, Jake?
I like Cameron Williams.
Okay, I could get behind it for a team like this because they've worked with like the slower footed but really big, powerful tackles before, like Orlando Brown Jr., that type of guy. I think that works fine for them, and hopefully he can develop a little bit before he has to step in there for Taylor or whoever may end up being. So let's do Cam Williams here, and then the Browns take Jalen Milroe. Woo! Oh my God! Oh, by the way, the best trade of the weekend. No one's talking about it. The Browns got a Super Bowl champion quarterback on their roster now. Dalton, did you hear about it?
Yeah, Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett, folks. He's back in the AFC North. Watch out for it. No,
I love that trade simply because Tanner McKee does not deserve to be buried on a depth chart anymore. He at least has a chance to play.
Yes, exactly. When the Eagles beat a team 62-0 in the first half this year because of how they're built now, that he can come in and play for half.
But also, like Hurts is gonna Hurts' play style, like he's gonna miss some time at some point, even if it's a few plays. Like he's gonna have to come out at some point.
Are you saying that Hurts might get hurt sometimes, Dalton?
Yes.
That's weird. You would anyway. Up with the Raiders here at 68, which is the pick we're going to actually make, right? Because that's the one that they still have. You said okay.
The other pick we're sending to Seattle,
73, which we will do that when we get to that pick. I will make that trade. So. Shedeur Sanders, here in Hampton. What we got so far? Remember
that is funny though that we're gonna set because we in real life it's you're trading for Geno first and then drafting Shedeur. In this, it would be like the Raiders
drafting Shedeur and then be like, oh shit, we can't start him. Get Jado on the phone right now. Pete Carroll's just screaming at the GM, dude, get him on the phone now. Get him on
It's
a
funny
plane.
how much worse those two moves are.
If they're done
Depending
opposite
who you
way.
flip
Yeah.
them.
That makes me think about the Falcons like drafting Penix and then like signing Kirk Cousins or something.
But they would have.
They would have. Yeah, they still would have done it the opposite way if
Yeah.
they had to. Yeah, if they had the opportunity. No, but that is something that we'll do when we get to pick 73. But it's 68 here again. So we got Shedeur Sanders on board to be hopefully the future quarterback of Marion Hampton to bring some semblance of athleticism to the running back room for sure, which is great. So of course we have to take the opposite of that with Cam Scampo at the same time. Dual-headed. No, anyway.
Part of me wants to go wide receiver here, but
Mhm.
also that was, normally I've been mocking wide receiver here, thinking the defense was going to be set, but
Right.
we can't have nice things in free agency apparently.
No. Let's take a look at the linebacker room right now. Chris Paul Jr., if you're a fan of him, is here.
There's Savion Williams to play a linebacker.
True, you could do that.
Because I guess he's just going to play whatever.
He'll play whatever position he's asked to do. I like Jacob Parrish, but maybe not this early. But he'd be a good slot replacement because he has outside experience at Kansas State. Profiles maybe more inside, but does have great athleticism, so could potentially be an outside fit.
I kind of like Isaiah Bond a little bit.
Oh, you would. No, I'm just kidding. At this
bit.
point, why not?
I don't mind it. My problem is it's just you're just slightly upgrading over Trey Tucker at that point.
Wait, though, you're telling me your receiver 4 in the draft is all
No, you're not. No, I shouldn't say
just
that. Also,
upgrade a little bit of an
he's
upgrade.
falling a little bit. But no, I'm saying you're basically almost a higher.
Respect Trey Tucker.
I'm just messing with you, but I think it was funny when you said like, "Wait a hold on a minute, wait a second, wait."
Yeah.
Continue.
I don't know. I like Bond a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's right fit.
No, I know he would not be a smart pick here. I just think it'd be fun to think about.
It would be. I mean, I think he's the best player available here.
Gino's throwing missiles down the field. I say a Bond all the time.
He does have a good deep ball.
He does. He really does. I'm not joking about that. But it's just funny.
Honestly, like,
it's been such a long time since I saw a Raiders QB with a good deep ball.
Yeah.
I mean, Carr had a good deep ball.
Carr had a good one, but he didn't.
Carr feels like ages ago. I feel like I've aged so much since Derek Carr played for the Raiders.
It does seem
like so many things have
3
happened
years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, that's because every game you watch Jimmy Garoppolo play takes like 3 years off your football fan life.
I think the Raiders are on their 3rd head coach now since Derek Carr left.
That honestly feels low, frankly, to me.
That's a crazy thing to think about.
I don't even know if that's that surprising. No, but if we want to look at what other positions you guys want to look at?
What's in the secondary? Yeah, what's that corner?
Dorian Strong, Jacob Parrish, the Kansas corners that collectively ran at 12-second 40 for some reason. By the way, that was weird.
I keep hearing things about Zy Alexander, but I haven't watched him yet.
I haven't gotten him either because I haven't done corners yet, but he does have some fans for sure. He's more of that like big physical corner, doesn't really have a ton of athleticism. So if depending on what kind of corner you're looking for, he could make sense. Yeah. Strong, I think I've seen some of him. I think he's very much like a baseline. Like this guy could be starting like number 2 corner for you potentially, and that's probably it. Which at this point in the draft isn't necessarily the end of the world, but that's kind of where I'm at with him. So I think Parrish is probably not quite this early, I would say. Yeah. Especially if you want to play him in the slot, but even then, like in general, maybe a little too early for him.
Yeah. If we're going receiver, I mean, I could get on board with Bond, but I think my top guy would probably be I think Trey Harris would be a good complement to what they have.
Ball winner type, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think he gives off, like, DK Light vibes. And I think Carroll would be into that a little bit.
You think he would take his shirt off when you met him?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good sign if that's the case.
Yeah, I could get behind Trey Harris.
I will say my top receiver on the board left would be Jalen Royals, but he's not the kind of receiver that I think you guys need to target. So that to me, like I think Harris certainly in contention here. Bond for just the fun of it is fine too, but I think I could get behind Harris more than Bond at this point.
Go with that.
You guys want to do Trey Harris?
Yeah. The Raiders are having a draft right now.
Yeah, and guess what? Here's about to not continue actually because we're going to trade. So
It's gonna be so funny when it just doesn't let you do it.
So we're going to do 73, and we're going to grab Geno Smith here. And trade will not be accepted, but guess what? Actually, I paid for this, so go fuck yourself, BFF. Forced trade. Guess what? Now the Seahawks are picking. What are you going to do about it? Anyway, I love that you can pick players now, too, because that means I don't have to, like, do a 5-round mock draft and, like, have to mess up the picks because I have to trade a pick back or I have to do, like, a future pick or something. It's like, just give me players to do it. Anyway, resume draft.
What did the Seahawks take with that?
I know this. We got to know. 73, Joshua Farmer. All right, probably not.
It's got to be the Panthers.
Oh, they definitely need more running backs, guys. Right?
that's interesting.
Who?
Isn't that Panthers?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Why not?
Who did the Patriots take Genty in this one, or was that the one that we scrapped?
That was the one that we didn't do because
I was going to say if they did that and then took Dylan Sampson too.
That would be normal.
For a team as bad as the Patriots were last year, to take Genty 4 overall
be awesome.
Would be insane.
No, you don't see the vision, Dalton. They want their Derrick Henry. They want the bell cow running back, Dalton. That's what they want. They need it. No, anyway, they really probably don't. Anyway, let's take a look at what we got here with the Broncos. So we have taken Mika Igbukwe, Caleb Johnson. What a draft for the Broncos so far, admittedly.
Yeah.
So we like that. Now, I kind of want to look at. I know they got Hufanga at safety, but he's going to miss a lot of time. I like Kevin Winston to them a lot
as like a hybrid tight end linebacker or safety linebacker. Yeah,
that's basically what we need. A tight end linebacker.
Cover tight ends.
That's going to be next Travis Hunter is going to be a tight end linebacker hybrid. You know, funny though, imagine the wear and tear you'd get as a tight end linebacker.
It's like you're getting in a car accident every single
You're getting in a car accident twice as often as Travis Hunter was. Yeah, anyway.
Your brain would look like Tua's.
Dude, listen, even Tua might not have that much brain damage.
The Tua speed run.
Coach, watch this. Anyway. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we got Ibuka, Caleb Johnson. Tight end is still a possibility, I think, here. This is where you get into, like, more of the range for these players, I think. That makes more sense. So I'd consider that.
Fun.
Yeah, Harold Fan would be fun, too. He would be a Sean Payton player.
Yeah.
You'd be like, that dude caught 100 billion passes in college. Give me that guy. I'll give him 50
Taysom Hill
targets a game.
Can't play quarterback.
Isn't that just Taysom Hill? At this point, right?
Fair.
I mean, it's kind of, you know what? No, you know what? Tyler Warren is Taysom Hill that can play quarterback. That's the comp.
Tyler Warren might be a better quarterback than Taysom Hill. Like, honestly, we just don't know.
How could you? You know, how could you know for sure? No. Anyway, like I said, I do like the idea of Ken Winston Jr. here. I do. I mean, again, they did address linebacker and safety, so that is that element of it. But I do think Hufanga is one of those guys that got a lot of money, but is he going to play more than like 10 games on average? I mean, just hasn't really done that much in the NFL at this point, so it's kind of a risk factor there. They re-signed. I think they did re-sign DJ Jones, so the interior is still fine. They could still add bodies there, but that's an option too. What are you guys thinking with this right now?
I just feel like, as good as defense was, like, I feel like this is the time to, like, add, especially, like, in the secondary.
Yeah.
Like, they had issues against Buffalo on defense.
As most teams will, but still, yeah, for sure. If you want to try to get above the first-round playoff exit tier of team, that's something you have to improve on, for sure.
And, I mean, you've already dumped a lot of assets into skill players.
In this draft in particular, yep, so.
Yeah. I mean,
What do you think, Jake?
I kind of like Winston here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good steal for somebody because of the injury this past year. I felt like he was on a first round trajectory prior to not playing last year. I really do, because one of the best tacklers in college football while he was in college. His coverage is, I think, going to be fine. Like, I don't know if it's ever going to be great necessarily, but I do think he's going to be an impact player in the box. So
he's
I think
good
that's
up-
where I would
yeah.
go.
He's good enough of an athlete that you just play man on a tight, have him block
Yeah,
off.
he could definitely run well enough to do that type of stuff. So I think that's where I would be leaning here. Good to go?
Yep.
All right, cool. Chargers, next pick. Oh, another Terrence Ferguson. I love you, but you shouldn't be playing for the Steelers. We have enough fucking tight ends. Anyway, can you play receiver perchance? Um, Chargers up here again. Colson Loveland, Eli Manor. Great combination of skill players there. Now I think is where you do start looking at like an edge or interior, honestly, for them. I want to see what's still here at those positions. Maybe not a ton. Well, this would be a fun player to put into defense. Not my cup of tea necessarily, but I do like the idea of that.
What do the Chargers have? Like, would there be a role for Deion Walker there?
I mean, I think you just figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I'm not high on him, but in the third round at this point, I'm willing to take a bet on the
third round. I feel like you kind of gotta go for it. I mean, he's gonna do something.
He'll be there.
He'll
be in the way for sure. I know that much.
And
block out the sun.
Special teams nightmare.
Probably, we hope. What if they don't do that? Like, what if whatever team drafts him doesn't do that? Aren't you going to be really mad every week when he's not out there?
Any special team coach that doesn't have him out there should be fired because, he's explosive off the snap and he's 6'7".
Yeah, it just makes sense. Long arms too.
Yeah, no, I think the ceiling is really high on him, and I think the floor is pretty steady.
I do feel like if they want to replace what Poona Ford did for them, Phillips is more of that type. So is a guy like Caldwell, in terms of like the big squatty though build nose tackle types.
If you want more
if that's what you're replacing, and I do have those guys higher than him on my personal rankings, so I didn't want to throw them out there. But Walker is obviously kind of that multiple ball of clay type that maybe a Harbaugh would find the challenge in and try to make good on that talent. What do you think, Jake, with that?
Yeah. I'm kind of stuck between the two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably would lean Phillips, I think.
I think he's more of a, exactly what he's going to be type of player, which in the third round, maybe you don't care as much about that because you are probably swinging for the fences a little bit more because at this point you're like, yeah, go for the upside. But I do like what he does specifically and what his role is, but he is very limited, I would say, as an athlete especially. So it's kind of one of those things where, I'm not the biggest Walker guy, but the draft is a whole different beast than just rankings, right? Like, you can't just base it off of your personal rankings of a player, even if you're doing what you would do, because at some point in the draft, especially if you've done really well for yourself, which I think Chargers have so far, you want to take at least a swing on somebody that could end up being a huge hit for you.
Yeah, I'm a lot. So, I would definitely be leaning more Walker over Phillips. I'm a lot lower on Phillips, though.
I mean, I would also go Caldwell over Phillips if I'm picking between the two, but in general, I kind of feel like interior is a good spot here because I don't love the edge class at this point. Walker's fun, but I think you don't want to take a bet on that profile this early when you don't have to.
JJ Pijouet, have him play as your other defensive end, the interior defensive end, and then also be your H-back.
Don't they already have Scott Matlock doing that?
Yeah,
don't
they do. They actually do have
two of them
doing that.
Two of them? No, that'd be funny if they had two of them. I think I'm going to just cast my vote for Deion Walker just to move it along because I think the upside makes sense there.
Yeah, I can get
Can't believe I talked myself into Deion Walker.
Oh, at 86.
No, I don't know.
That's
It's
a
fine. I don't
steal.
care. I don't care at 86. Let's see. Were we right? Harold Fannin and Gunnar
Oh, look
Helm
at that.
are here. Look at that. I
We
was
should be
right.
GMs. That's
We
impressive.
really should, shouldn't we? No, anyway. No, we're not going to be those people. So I think just because of the fact that this is where I think he could end up becoming an actual like impact player most often, I kind of want to go Harold Fannin here. Like Gunnar Helm, I think has more translatable skills in terms of like actually playing the tight end position at the NFL level. But I think Harold Fannin Jr. would be a very fun addition to the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the vibes on Fannin for this pick just make more sense, but I
Yeah.
have Helm higher, so
That's my
I'm
thing
gonna go-
too. It's
yeah.
like I like Fannin a lot, but like I understand that my hope is he's Isaiah Likely. Like that's kind of what I want him to be because Likely didn't test very well either. But you put him out on the field, and all of a sudden he's stiff arming people, he's running over people, sidestepping guys, running for touchdowns. Like that's kind of what you hope Fannin is going to be at the next level. So if the Chiefs can get that, watch out. So we good with that at 95 here. All right. And we've gone farther than we've ever gone before, folks. Gerald Wilson to the Lions to be a potential Ragnar replacement.
Evan Neal to the Eagles.
Yeah, Lions are having a draft.
The Lions are having a draft. Absolutely. Charles Grant to the Rams is fun. I like that. Tess Johnson to the Titans.
Riley Leonard is the most giant. The Giants
You know what?
are not taking Shador at 3.
Folks, they did it again.
Riley Leonard.
They did it again, folks. The Giants cannot be stopped. He even played at Duke at some point.
Yeah, he came from the same, like, who is it? The Duke quarterback guy.
What is his name?
Cutcliffe?
Yeah, David Cutcliffe, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a David Cutcliffe guy.
Yeah, the Giants love themselves. Dude, Riley Leonard, now that I think about it, he could be the third. No. Anyway.
That would be, God, that'd be, I'd be more speechless than the Penix pick.
Yeah, that would definitely suffice. And it's fun. So let's take a look. Just anything interesting here. Not anything too crazy, I would say. Isaiah Bond to the Browns to be thrown the ball by somebody. I don't know. I think if the Browns draft Isaiah Bond, they need to bring Jameis Winston back just so we can see that combination of people together. Kenny Pickett's just going to short arm the ball to him every time if that's who's playing.
Underthrown by 20 yards every time.
The old underthrown deep ball. It works every time. Raiders up again here, though, guys. So we have Shedeur Sanders, Marion Hampton, Trey Harris. How are you going to finish out the draft for the Raiders today?
Oh, Makuba's sitting there. Interesting.
I see that.
I know they signed Chin, but like
2 years. Like
They
16
still
million.
need safety help though.
I mean,
Marcus-
Polomal.
free
We're assuming Polomal's gonna be a starter, but like,
Right.
I
Doesn't
mean, watching
necessarily
him
have to
play, I don't
be.
know how you felt, Jake, but like,
I
He
think he can be a good starter, but I would not go into the season like betting. on that.
you're that re-signing is based solely on what you think he'll become. Like what he is right now is replacement, just above replacement level.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I could get behind second.
I think it's a good value for Makuba, too, at this point.
Yeah.
So what you guys want to go with?
Yeah, we might as well do something on defense now. I've done offense the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Hey, when you go get a veteran quarterback, you got to make that offense as good as possible, guys.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are you going to justify paying him $42 million a year? No. Andrew Makuba to the Raiders here. Broncos up here again. So we got Ibuka, Johnson, Winston. Dude, the AFC West drafts, this might be our best work, I would say. I'm not just saying that because the Raiders aren't doing the dumbest shit we've ever seen like they normally do. Them in particular, for some reason, you guys have just been getting kicked in the head every one of these drafts.
Other than the Colts.
The Colts. But the thing with the Colts is they had clearly an agenda. They were just trying to create the greatest running game to ever exist, and I can at least respect that. The Raiders were drafting Dylan Gabriel at like 73 and thinking that was going to work.
Just hope that the only passes Anthony Richardson has to throw are play action deep balls.
Yeah, and that'll work probably, realistically. Yeah, so we got the Broncos up here again. So I think we've gone a mix now. We've got two legit playmakers. We got a safety that can play for them. I
I'm on a
mean,
tight end here.
yeah, probably. I wonder what's left at tight end at this point. Ooh,
Yeah, it dropped off quick. Although
Right up.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't hate Luke Lockey here.
it is an Iowa tight end. There's always a chance that he's just actually the third best tight end in the sport in like 4 years. It's always possible with those guys
And
for some reason.
I mean, he was my tight end 5. I had a second round grade on him
Right.
purely as a blocker.
Yeah.
He's good enough. I mean, especially if like you're bringing in Evan Ingram.
Which I think they should try to do at least for sure. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. You could just take the guy that is a tight end but isn't. Talk about an offensive weapon. He literally doesn't play the position that you're drafting him for anyway. No. The fact he didn't run at the combine was really crazy to me, by the way.
Who?
Gadsden.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to be fast. He's not, in my opinion, but you kind of have to be if you're going to be this type of player.
Well, also, like, even the way the tight ends ran, like, even if you had a shitty run.
He could have run like a 4.68 and everybody would be like, whoa!
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
What did Lockey run? Because that might be
He
why
didn't run. He didn't run at all, I don't think.
Lockey didn't run either?
No.
I don't blame him.
All the times we're like, you know what? No. We're just going to say no.
Yeah. I know he's extremely low here, but that actually
I don't think that reflects necessarily.
Yeah, I can talk myself into that. If we are gonna go tight end here, I think that would be my pick.
I kind of want to also look at.
Curious what's on defense though.
I don't know if you guys saw Zeke Biggers had a hell of a combine for his size. Not saying he should be drafted here, but I just remembered seeing him do crazy stuff in the combine.
Yeah.
I like him. I like a Tim Smith here, maybe.
Tim Smith,
Maybe,
Tonka, and I watched Tonka Hemingway. A lot of good names here. I kind of wanted to see. What's the edge looking like at this point? This could be like the range for a David Walker.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll tell you what. Ahmed Hassanein in a 3 as like your 3-4 defensive end, I kind of like a lot. I feel like that would make sense for him.
Also, if you haven't heard, he's from Egypt.
Didn't hear that a million times. Combine,
right? The combine didn't talk about it 50 times while he was doing drills or anything. That guy from there is from over there.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like a true like.
I kind of view him
him
as a 4-3 type of guy, just based on the build.
Yeah,
I mean, 271. I forget what he weighed in at the combine, but I think he was still in the high 250s, low 260s.
Yeah, I would almost have him put on a little weight and move him more
around a little bit. He didn't test super explosively, I don't think, either. So maybe that would be his fit. Again, like I think edge-wise, at least because I haven't watched all the edges yet, I'd probably go Walker because I think he is a really nice, like kind of sawed-off power, like rusher type guy that did really well at the Senior Bowl and also at the Combine. I think he tested pretty well for his size. So if we're doing edge, like I just kind of wanted to see what that looks like because I think they could still use more bodies there.
Yeah.
But
what do they have at middle linebacker?
Good question. At this point, Barrett Carter.
But like, what are the Broncos? Because the Broncos don't.
Because Greenlaw's got a 3-year deal, so he's probably the starter for at least 2 years. I don't know what to do with Carter. I feel like he's more of because I haven't watched him yet because I've been mostly focusing on edges so far. Is he more? I was about to say, is he more of a cover player? That coverage grade is not what you want to see.
Man, I think he's more of like a pure like run stuffing
6'1",
middle linebacker.
Best year was in 2022. Got progressively worse. You never want to see that.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they would
5
really
touchdowns
need to with what they have in. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of Singleton's role, isn't it? A linebacker that can't really.
Yeah, I think
cover.
so, yeah. I think right now I'm between Walker and where's the other one I was looking at? We're looking at tight end. We were talking about tight ends. I would be okay with like a guy like Lockie. I would. What do you think, Jake?
I feel like there's so many options that I could go here.
I know a lot of people like
My brain.
this kid out of
I was
UCLA, but
thinking of
I'm not
Femi.
even going to attempt to say that name because I haven't
Just
watched
call
him
him
enough.
Femi.
Femi.
What is it?
Olufemi Oladejo.
Yeah, you got it.
That's not.
I
It's
think
not
that was pretty
hard.
close.
It's just
Yeah, a little for me.
makes you a little bit
A
unconfident.
little woof in me, it says. Is what he's saying. No. Anyway, no.
I could see him.
Yeah, I just haven't watched him yet, so I don't know what I think about him. But there's people I've heard some people like top 50 like him, which
I
that
don't know about that.
so I haven't watched him, so I couldn't tell you. Maybe I'll come back here next week and be like, guys, you know about this guy, but I can't say his name. No, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think for me it's Walker or a tight end of some kind, wherever we decide is the best one to do. Where would you land on?
I would probably lean Lockie here.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Where are you at, Jake?
I could do Lockie.
Okay. I'm close enough on both of them that, like, I'm good with either one. They do need to add some tight end up there. Chargers again. So we got Loveland, Ironmaner, and the swing on Deion Walker. Okay. So edges again, like I think maybe again like David Walker is the name I think of because like Bosa's gone, Max on a 1-year deal.
Also, Mac, not the same player he once was.
I mean, he's 33. Give him a break, Dalton.
Yeah.
Give him a break. No, I think that realistically the edge group is going to get thin very fast, especially next season. After the next season, so that would kind of be. I think he'd be my favorite on the board.
I'm go with Walker here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good with that. Okay. And what I believe, yes, is our last pick of this 4-round mock. So we have Chiefs again: Gray Zabel, Benjamin Morrison, Cam Williams, and Harold Fannin Jr. I'm sure this draft would make you guys very upset.
So that's a good draft for them.
Yeah, it's a good draft for them.
Yeah.
So we have, let's see what's on the board here. They haven't added to the offensive weapons outside of Harold Fannin. I do like the idea of a running back or receiver.
Running back or wide receiver here.
I could see.
It thinned out quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Also, Bashal Tootin will not be on the board.
I kind of like Jordan James here a little bit.
I do kind of like that.
Like he feels like he'd be a good fit with that offense.
Yeah. I will say, like, of the guys on the board, I think that, like, if you want to get that true, like, home run hitting threat, Tootin is still here. I have a feeling he's going to go higher than this just because of how well he tested and the type. Like, some team is going to be like, I'll spend a 3rd-round pick on my second running back, but he's going to be the guy that gives me, like, 2 or 3, like, truly explosive plays every couple of weeks that change the game. So I could see him going higher than this, but it does make some sense. If they want to go more, like, reliable / like bruiser type, Damian Martinez makes a lot of sense here too. 0 passing game ability, but is a bruiser type. But yeah, I feel like the receivers at this point, especially like if we're looking at one of these two, Bryant kind of disappointed me at the combine a little bit, but I still generally like his skill set. Just can't get down with Kobe Hudson that much. Kyle Williams, interesting one. I need to watch him because I didn't get a chance to watch him the first time around. But what are you guys thinking here?
Yeah, I don't think there's a single wide receiver on the board. Is Torrey Horton? I don't think there's a single wide receiver on the board that I watched, unless Torrey Horton is still.
I think he's gone.
Yep, and there's
Ty Felton is here down the board.
That might be it. But, I don't know. As far as running backs go, I do like I like Trevor Etienne.
Yeah,
get on board with that.
I would probably go ETN or Jordan James.
Yeah, actually, I would go James. I'm a little higher on James.
I decided, if you guys remember, to not watch James because he hadn't declared yet when we did the running back episode.
He just feels like a Chiefs running back to me.
So I didn't get a chance to watch him fully. So I'd have to trust you guys for the most part on that. But I did like what I saw from him in the small amount I did see of him.
Not gonna do much after the first 5 yards, but he hits the hole hard.
Yeah, I've seen a few running backs that fly through the line like he does.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
He's gonna get positive yards on pretty much every run just because of that. He's gonna go straight forward really hard, and then he's gonna fall down within about 5 yards.
That feels like it was a good mock for all.
I think we did do a good job for sure with all the teams. And again, the Raiders didn't take Dylan Gabriel at 73 or some other bullshit, which is good for you guys.
Instead of taking Dylan Gabriel at 73, they traded for Geno Smith after drafting Shedeur Sanders.
Which is incredible.
But no, I think if even with Geno on the board, or even with Geno on your roster, I think you still, if Shedeur falls, you have to take him.
I understand that for sure. I think that pick makes more sense from a team building perspective long term for sure.
Yeah.
Again, I just greedily kind of want to see Ashton Jeanty just be given the ball 25 times a game and then Geno Smith throw bombs. I
really feel like that's going to end up happening.
I think so.
I really thought they were going to have some kind of interest in Najee.
I think they did. I think the Chargers probably just had more.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw him go to the Chargers, though, I immediately was like, okay, they have to be drafting Jeanty.
Just immediately, Jeanty, get ready to learn the slots, buddy. Imagine Ashton Jeanty at the casino, just not playing anything, just kind of walking around hey, what's up, guys? I feel like he wouldn't play slot. I don't think he would gamble, frankly.
Yeah.
It's kind of the vibe I get from him. But
the biggest case for drafting Shedeur, last thing I want to say this is Geno Smith also makes it so you'll probably not be in the position to draft a starting quarterback again.
Wouldn't it be a twist of fate if that is what happens though? He starts
the number one pick next year.
Yeah. You guys will the first pick, and Shedeur gets in halfway, but also looks terrible. And then the Raiders are I know what we're gonna do. We're gonna not use we're not gonna use any of the quarterbacks we just spent a lot of capital on. We're gonna draft a different one. We're gonna do the Josh Rosen thing, but times 10. We're gonna make the Michael Penix situation look like nothing, folks.
Yeah, although
haven't seen it yet.
Keep an eye out for Atlanta to do that next year if they go 5-12 with Penix next year, which is very realistic.
Yeah, that'd be really funny if they if that doesn't work out at all, and they're oh man, we have to find the future of the future of the future, guys.
That team's not good enough that if Penix doesn't play well, they're not going to win a lot of games.
I think him and Drake London are basically going to play catch with each other every game, and then they're going to see what else happens, and they're just going to run the ball with Bijan Robinson 40 times a game and hope that works.
And Kyle Pitts will continue to just not be utilized.
Kyle Pitts is going to be a trade. He's going to be a deadline candidate for someone. He's going to get traded to somebody, and then he'll be 10% better, and everyone will go, see, it was the Falcons. It's I don't know.
Unless he goes to the Eagles, and then he'll be a 1,000-yard receiver.
That's true, and he'll play X receiver though. And Brown will play in the slot for some reason. Devontae Smith will be the other.
Well, not here because the Eagles.
Oh, that's right. They drafted two Iowa State receivers. Both of them. They're they're both good. We'll take them both. Actually, that's great.
I think every AFC West team should be happy with this mock.
Yeah,
I don't know who came out the worst out of these four.
It's a good question.
I almost want to say the Raiders just because,
you're taking a chance on a quarterback.
Yeah.
That might not work out after trading for one. Yeah, I guess by default because the chance of not getting value on your first-round pick is higher with them than any of the others just because of the circumstances of it. But even then, it's can you get mad at a team for taking quarterback if they like them enough at 6? Not really.
Yeah. I think my favorite out of these four is probably the Chargers draft because they have.
Chargers was gross. Yeah. Listen,
yeah.
with that draft, if all the rookies are good and then Justin Herbert still sucks in the playoffs, then you can make fun of Justin Herbert. Okay, then you're allowed to say he's stinky in the playoffs. Until then, let's give it another year, guys. Let's do that.
Then Harbaugh like trades Herbert for who is the Kaepernick of like today as far as like skill level goes.
I'm gonna say, depending on what you're about to say, no, skill level.
Or no, who he trade? Yeah, who would he draft and then trade Herbert to start? Who would he draft this year? I guess Milroe.
Probably Milroe. Yeah, because he's athletic.
That's I don't think it's been that high of a pick on Milroe.
No, that would be really bad if they did that. It'd be a very bad sign.
Day 3 version.
God, you're making me think of day 3 quarterbacks right now. I don't think anyone compares.
It's like almost all of them.
Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
Ew. Quinn Ewers, good, bro.
That's Riley Leonard, but just bigger.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a running quarterback, though.
It's very true. He does run.
That's all he does.
He's like a power running quarterback, which is the funny thing. It's not even like he's fast or something.
It's the weirdest quarterback build I think I've seen in a very long time.
He's something, man. I don't know. Imagine
if like he's basically he's a quarterback that is built and plays like Jerome Bettis. It's literally a giant running back. Am I wrong?
I feel like how we know we've like broken the ceiling of this podcast is when Riley Leonard is mentioned in the same sentence as Jerome Bettis on the podcast. I feel like that's when we know. Guys. They are. You know what? You're right. They did both. They
big running, and I mean, he's basically a running back. Riley Leonard is basically a running back.
I like that we're turning that narrative around on the podcast about guys. I think we should start calling guys like Riley Leonard running backs for sure. we should definitely start doing that.
Will Howard's notes.
Will Howard's a tight end. Tyler Shuck's going to be a salesman because he's going to blow out both his knees first 2 years probably.
He's so old.
He's 20. He's going to get his AARP card before he finishes his 4th year. The whole night. We could just
his ACL.
Yeah, I mean, the wildest thing is that Tyler Show backed up Justin Herbert.
Yeah, that's one of those things you hear and you're like, college football is in a weird place right now.
Yeah, that's as weird as like Aaron Rodgers being younger than Brandon Weeden.
Is he
the same age as Brandon Weeden?
Is he the same age? He's probably about the same age.
Yeah. Huh? Even though Weeden went like 5 years later.
I think it was actually 7 years later.
Yeah, something like that.
Actually. Because I think it was the 2012 draft.
Yeah, it was. It was something wild.
So Rodgers was 2005. That's distressing, honestly.
That's the
Someone needs to study the Browns from 2005 to 2015.
But that's also just like what a life to go just. I'm gonna right out of high school. I'm just gonna go play minor league baseball for 3 years, and then you know what? All right, now I'm gonna go to a Division I campus and play quarterback.
Some people get to just do different things from their life that we don't get to do. Yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for us this week. Next week we will have our edge rankings and our linebacker
talk about
rankings.
Brandon Weeden. Shayne's like,
he's like, this point, man.
We have
Cowboys
Brandon
Weeden
gone off the rails.
Yeah, gone off the rails into a hole in the ground. It's not great. Now we'll be back next week with our edge rankings and our linebacker rankings. Getting close to the end as far as rankings and all that stuff goes. Plenty more stuff planned though before we get to the draft. But the side note, kind of a spoiler, at some point over the next week or so, you will start seeing some different promotional material for, let's just say we're going to be in a different spots on the YouTube space and other spaces. So look out for that. You'll be hearing more about that in the future. But the show is going to continue just in a different way, in a different place. So definitely watch out for that. But